All right, everyone, we start off today talking about another funny theme, which is DeSantis winning yet again. This has happened time and time again. You'll remember on COVID, on mandates, on lockdowns. He's consistently won not just legal battles, but I think moral battles. This isn't great for the Democrats because if Trump doesn't run, or if he can't, like if he's incapacitated or something, DeSantis could potentially be a real threat, I think, to the Democratic Party. Because for over a year, they've unloaded on him over and over again, like with lockdownerism. Florida didn't lock down. They had a handful of temporary restrictions and then said, fuck it. Florida has come out smelling like a rose with no more of a case total per capita or death rate than most other states. In fact, they're on the lower end at the moment as far as new cases. I think they're second or third lowest. Don't quote me on that. It changes and fluxes over time. They thought that it would kill everyone. They predicted that openly. Monoclonal antibodies, which were early on when Florida began using them, were not yet accepted by the lamestream medical complex. Biden complained about this, literally shut off their supply. Other groups, the legacy media said basically DeSantis was a conspiracy theorist. Now the WHO openly recommends it as a second-line treatment and says, well, vaccination's the first way that you prevent yourself from getting sick, but yeah, these monoclonal antibodies, you should use them if you have significant symptoms, regardless of whether you're vaccinated or not. They spent 6-7 months calling DeSantis crazy for doing that. There's various other therapeutics that I'm not sure you're allowed to mention if you're on YouTube. By the way, links down below in a pinned comment. If you are on YouTube, keep in mind I make exclusive videos every day on those sites because YouTube has too many things that are verboten to talk about. Well, now you have yet another conspiracy theory about DeSantis. If you've read the headline news, link in the description, archived of course from CNN, DeSantis creates a new civilian fighting force directly under his control. Clearly, this is the march towards fascism. Actually, what you're talking about is a state guard, which there are about 30 of them active in the United States. Almost all the blue states still have active state guards. Vermont, California, Florida was one of the states, along with a bunch of the states that are more out west, like Wyoming and shit, have deactivated state guards, and a handful of states never really had one, like I think West Virginia never did. Florida disbanded its state guard after World War II because it was felt to be, in the budgetary sense, I believe, superfluous, because, you'd have to pay for it. The funny thing is, though, these state guards are actually closer to the concept of the militia that leftoids talk about actually promoting than the term as used by leftoids in general. The disorganized militia, understood by the founders at the time, we're talking in the 1770s, would have been the population at large, at the time male, specifically capable of mustering to defend themselves, to defend their communities, the nation, etc. at large. That's the disorganized militia. They have not mustered but are capable. The semi-permanent but still civilian force, the Minutemen sort of thing, would have been the more organized side of it. There was no standing military at the time to call a militia in any sense. If they had been referred to that, to a federally centristic force, they would have used the term soldiers or regulars. They would not have said militia, organized or disorganized. This is the organized militia. These are civilians who are getting military. It's sort of like the National Guard, but it's state-centric, and it's not comprised of people that are under the direct command of Uncle Sam. But most states already have this system. Nonetheless, that hasn't stopped CNN, MSNBC, of course Joy Reid opining very early, The Atlantic and Vox and so on, saying, oh my God, see, this is the slow march towards fascism that Donald Trump wanted. Ron DeSantis wants to be a dictator. By fielding a handful of individuals with military hardware under state purview, as is his right as the governor, and at state expense, so don't worry, Californians, you're not going to have to pay a cent for this, explicitly constitutional, literally comports to part of the Second Amendment explicitly, and which most other states already have. This is fascism. Yes, Florida, by this token, more than half of the U.S. states are fascistic. Again, because they have the state guards. And Florida was under fascism until after World War II. I guess that someone came and liberated them. Before that, evil white supremacists were running the state. Well, clearly this is wrong. But they're taking the L. You can see them get ratioed. Again, Twitter is a great metric for stories like this. I hate to say it. I hate to say anything that promotes Twitter, which is about to, I think, destroy itself. The writing is on the wall, some of the changes that they're making in their company, they're beginning to worry even mainline users. Like the leftoids are shrieking right now because they're like, no, right-wingers are misusing the new terms of service against us. You're not supposed to impose the rules on us. You're only supposed to impose the rules on them. Did we not fucking warn you about this shit for like 3 years? Anyway, they're incapable of learning. That's why they're leftoids. If you look at the situation, though, you can look there. Keep in mind you're looking at an echo chamber. You're on Joy Reid's page or whatever. But the echo chambers are beginning to break down. I've seen this steadily over the last couple of years especially. What had been extremely hardened echo chambers. You go to a leftist page, you're ass blasted if you say anything. It's moving in the other direction. I'm seeing the ratioing of their material. I'm seeing certainly responses that are positive towards tax increases, build back better bullshit, thinking DeSantis is a fascist, etc., getting pounded by people. And it's not just because my right wing is better organized. Oh boy, would that be a funny argument to possibly make, given the ramifications of centrality versus non-centrality in organic movements. But again, DeSantis is getting called a fascist by the whole legacy media, but he's not. It's not a new thing. CNN is outright lying with the title in this, again, link in the description. They're pretending that he is creating something new. It's not new. It's a really old idea that was there from the get-go, from the very founding of the country, and which was in Florida itself until the mid-1940s. So what gives? How is it fascism? No, fascism would be he hires his own private merc force, and then he starts ignoring the state constitution. That would be fascistic. Fascistic is when the federal government, like Amy Klobuchar, explicitly lean on tech firms to try to shut people down, cancel them, and silence them because they're being too loud and noisy as dissidents. That's fascistic. Fascism is when taxpayer-funded pharmaceutical corporations are having their materials peddled, sometimes involuntarily, to large proportions of the population, a de facto kickback for companies which donated to political campaigns that are in the administration. That's fascistic. State guards are not fascistic. Not unless you use them to, I guess, guard corporations, shoot at protesters when they're protesting working conditions or something. Okay, that would be the government acting in a semi-fascistic manner. But that's not what's happening here. Ultimately, part of this is probably about the fact that in some areas of the country, indeed in some cities, there's no attempt at law enforcement anymore. DeSantis is looking over at San Francisco and saying, over the next few years, I wonder which would be more popular. I take care of rioters and make it clear you're actually going to get thrown in jail if you riot in my state, so the crime rate is slightly lower. Or hey, shoplifting is decriminalized now. It is now illegal for you to attempt to impede someone if they're carrying the flat screen TV out of the Walmart. Which one of these is the American public in the nice, polite suburbs that are going to vote heavily in 2024 as the ramifications of the Biden economy become more evident? And in crime, although it's technically a secondary issue at the moment, which is hysterical and astonishing. If I run, says DeSantis, which is better? Yeah, crime schmime, who gives a shit? Decriminalize everything. I agree on 90% of those crimes, but certainly not theft and burglary and assault and rioting and things of that nature. Those are actual crimes. Or if I'm a law and order Republican. Yeah, the Republicans, by the way, DeSantis would do so well in the primaries, if there are effective primaries, if Trump doesn't run or whatever, or is dead. He'd do so well if he were a lamestream, not tough on crime or rhino like Mitt Romney. Yes, I'm sure that the Floridian public would re-elect him if he didn't run in the primaries, number one. And if he doesn't, I'm sure that the Republicans would coalesce behind a weak on crime platform. Yeah, says DeSantis, burglary, that's not really a thing. You shouldn't be able to defend your own home. Florida's stand your ground and castle doctrine. Yeah, he's restoring a small number of state guardsmen to help with riots, mainly, and other disasters, riots being a man-made disaster. We saw billions of dollars in damage were done by leftoids over a few months this last year. In the wake of Fentanyl Floyd, in the wake of Jacob Flake, in the wake of, well, we shot the Waukesha parade attack, the terrorist attack there by a black nationalist extremist BLM member. Yeah, and I'm sure, yeah, DeSantis is the one that's fascistic. That's about all. Peace out.